Good day, everyone, wherever you are viewing from, and welcome back to our outstanding channel, Everyday People's Voice, a fearless media platform where we hold leadership accountable for their misconduct, and we will not trade the right to press freedom and free speech for a piece of cake. Yeah, we are also dedicated to the objective coverage of Nigerian breaking news in politics, business, crime and entertainment, current affairs and opinions, education and health news, travel, food, news around the world. Our mission is to provide steadfast and quality news reports, while our mission is to bring the news directly to you from where and when they happen. Because, as you all know, our sources of information are reliable and accurate. That's why we are called the window to the world, and we are always one step ahead of others. Many thanks to you all, my viewers, for tuning in. But before I go further, if this is your first time of coming across our prestigious channel, please be so kind to subscribe, like, and share our videos. And remember to click on the notification bell so that anytime we break the news, you will be among the first persons to be notified. Once again, I say thank you all for tuning in. This video you are about to watch is a must-watch video. Please watch to the end and leave your comment below on the comment section. I will see you in my next video.
However, the Elders and Leaders Forum in Rivers State has criticized the peace pact brokered by President Bola Tinubu between Governor Simi Fübarä and FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, saying the directive contravenes the Constitution of Nigeria and separation of powers. The leader of the forum and former governor of Rivers State, Rufus Ada George, supported by other members of the group, stated this in a communique read at the end of the emergency meeting in Port Harcourt on Tuesday night. Though Ada George commended President Tinubu for intervening, he says members of the forum are at a loss if the president's intervention has solved or further worsened the situation. He called on all Rivers people of goodwill to rise up and defend their state for the sake of posterity and generations yet unborn.
By virtue of an attempt to reverse a court order recognizing the Honorable Edison Heäd as the Speaker and directing that the remainder of members of the House of Assembly constituted the forum for legislative business. That the directives also contravenes the humble doctrine and practice of separation of powers, particularly as it affects the responsibility of the judiciary. Can Mr. President, on the executive arm of government, overrule the decisions of courts of competent jurisdiction? This would tend executive rascality, which undermines our constitutional democracy, rule of law, and good governance.
In another development, former Ijaw leader Edwin Clark has described the communique issued at the end of the reconciliatory meeting by President Bola Tinubu to resolve the crisis in Rivers State as appalling and unacceptable to the Ijaw ethnic nationality. At a press conference in Abuja, the elder statesman argued that the 8-point resolutions reached after the meeting are undemocratic, dictatorial, one-sided, and targeted at handing over the political leadership of Rivers State to the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike. Clark said the Ijaws were in the majority, with 11 out of the 23 local government areas in Rivers State will resist any attempt to covertly or overtly impeach Governor Fübarä. While calling on the Ijaw youths to remain peaceful, Chief Clark calls on President Tinubu to desist from all forms of oppression against Governor Fübarä or face legal action.
Tinubu should respect the Constitution of Nigeria, under which he felt imposed to uphold the Constitution. Once he belong this, would you believe in legislative? I President of Nigeria and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, but are free citizens of this country. We have a right to reject any of his obnoxious directives because President Tinubu wants to please. It's a wicked thing. We have now decided to hand over the leadership, the political leadership of Rivers State to Wike. It is unacceptable to the people of Rivers State. I'm appealing on behalf of our people to our dear son, Governor Fübarä, to stand firm that the president of Nigeria have no authority over him. President was elected, he too was elected.
The president of the Ijaw Youth Council has also described a document containing directives for resolving the political impasse in Rivers State as questionable. While commending President Bola Tinubu for his intervention, Professor Benjamin Okaba, however, rejected the outcome of the meeting, saying it is lopsided in favor of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike.
Mr. President has just tacitly anointed Wike as the god of Rivers State to promote lawlessness in this country. It is to demarcate this country. And I think Mr. President, who is a lover of democracy, who fought for democracy, will not allow things like this to ridicule his government. Because accepting all these ploys is to advance Wike's well-known third-term agenda. Wike want to continue to be FCT minister and as well as the governor of Rivers State. It's unacceptable. That is the public cry. If Fübarä even signed this document, he signed this document under questionable circumstances. We don't even believe that he signed this document. You don't expect a man at his level to sign his death warrant because the document that is swear does not protect him. So if you said they will not go and meet in Wike's kitchen, and tomorrow, before you know it, the man who have been power testing will wake up and say, okay, you are now going to impeach him. How will Mr. President supervise this type of tyranny?
Joining us now on the morning show is Amabipi Martins, veteran journalist and member, Rivers Elders and Leaders Forum. He will be joined by Dr. Monday Oyekachi Ubani, former chairman, Nigerian Bar Association Ikeja branch, and former chairman, NBA Speedal, and Ken Okolubo, a former commissioner of the Delta State Oil Producing Area Development Commission, DESOPADEC. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. We have Okolubo in the studio here in Lagos.
Thank you for having me.
And we have Mr. Martins joining us from Port Harcourt. We're still expecting Dr. Ubani to join us in due course. But let's start with you, Mr. Martins. You are a member of the Rivers Elders and Leaders Forum. And I assume you were at the meeting yesterday where the elders responded to the intervention of President Tinubu. And the argument is that, as we had Professor Okaba saying, Chief E.K. Clark, and also Chief Rufus Ada-George, that Fübarä must have signed under questionable circumstances. I'm sure Fübarä is old enough to be able to make up his own mind under any circumstances. And he has said that he is ready to make any sacrifice for peace to reign. So isn't there a contradiction here? The governor says he is ready to make any sacrifice. Other people are saying, no, he cannot make any sacrifice because he's being forced, and the president has no powers to intervene in Lagos State, in the Rivers State. If you could just take us through how the elders arrived at that, and then for you, Mr. Okolubo, just to also get your reaction generally, with particular reference to the legality of the president's interference, because there are people who are saying that the president is not a headmaster. I've also argued he's not a supervisor, and that all these politicians in the states who keep taking their matters to him, from Ondo to Rivers to Kano, they will turn him into a dictator and then turn around to say this is a federal system. whereas they caused the problem in the first place. But let's start with Mr. Amabiki Martins. Mr. Martins?
Well, thank you very much, Ruben. Let me just correct one impression. I am not actually a member of the Elders Forum, but I am an elder as of right. And I want to say that I agree with their conclusions on the matter, because I had personally written on Facebook that everything about that meeting with the president, the conclusions were unacceptable, vexatious, and one-sided. And it's like somebody said, the president was just trying to be a good mentor to Wike, because what the president had been for Lagos in terms of control, in terms of power in Lagos, that's what Wike wants to be in Rivers State. He wants to appropriate political power to himself. He wants to appropriate economic power to himself. And of course, the facts are very obvious. And like Willie Shoyinka said, are we going to die by just remaining silent? Wike should be told that the state does not belong to him. It belongs to the whole collectivity of over 5 million people. And he cannot decide on how governance should be, how government should run. He was a governor just about 6 years ago. And of course, the rule is that in conclusion, having concluded his tenure, he should pack and go. Why should he decide on who becomes governor? How should he appoint officials of government and the governor is doing nothing? So I think people that are sane, of course, on the political scene should object to that. And I object to that as an individual. And of course, a good number of Rivers people, Nigerians, who are sane, who are honest, and who want the right things to be done, will say a big no to that kind of thing. The conclusions at the meeting are all one-sided. For instance, what is the status of the former legislators? They have left their party and gone to a party that had no single representation in the House of Assembly. And can they still come and make laws? Can they come and look at the budget as directed from that meeting? Who? They are not in a position to do that, because the directive by the president and of course the collection of people there that the governor should represent his budget raises the question, who is he going to represent the budget to? To these 25 legislators, former legislators, who had defected from their party and now have no status as legislators? So there's a big question mark there. And so many other issues raised in that in that meeting, so-called agreement. Honestly, it appeared even the governor, as a matter of fact, is completely new in politics and political theatrics. He's learning his ropes. He may not be aware of the implications. He too actually must be tutored on the fact that even as a governor, the state does not belong to him. There are stakeholders, the citizens, and of course he had a wide support. He should be able to have consulted them on these conclusions before signing an agreement. What kind of agreement was that? That was supposed to be a peace meeting, but lawyers have said it had no legal or constitutional impact on the outcome of the meeting. So I am saying that as an individual, a well-informed individual, a Nigerian and a Rivers man, and of course, by the fact that I'm getting to 80, I'm naturally, traditionally an elder and should be experienced and knowledgeable enough to have an opinion on such matters. If I don't, then it means I am dead, like Willie Shoyinka said, and the man died. Thank you.
The man dies in all who keep silent in the face of tyranny. Willie Shoyinka. Well, Kano Kolubo, let's come to you now.
You know, I like the way you have always described what's really happening in Rivers State. You have said one day, one crisis. What we have always done is 1 week, one trouble. But if you look at it, first I would say that Papa Clark did his press conference was all encapsulating of the entire issues that were before the elders of Rivers. Well, what they failed to cover was one of the things that Papa Clark covered, which had to do with the governor and the fact that if he was so delivered, let me put it that way, I'm just summarizing that he should never have maybe taken the position or he should resign. Now, the same governor has said that there is no sacrifice too much you cannot make for peace. Now, you look at the president, he has no constitutional role in taking such a decision. The only decision the president can take in Rivers is when the process of peace has entirely broken down and the Senate would then convene and he has to declare a state of emergency. But then the president, in his own wisdom, because a lot of people have been calling on the president to intervene, have said, okay, come, let us sit and reason together. What I find a bit curious here is, I know before the arrival of Wike, the revered former governor of Rivers State, Peter Odili, was there with the governor. So I expect that some discussions would have gone on before Wike arrived at that meeting. And Odili's statement at that PAMU's graduation clearly shows that he's in support of Fübarä. But what we are failing to understand here is the legal implications. Nobody wants to go into that details. The problem we're having here is basically the courts. Kayode Omotosho, on the 29th of November, actually restrained the governor from sacking the clerk or interfering with the duties of the 27 legislatures. Don't forget that after Kayode Omotosho, we already had Fübarä, who had gotten the judgment of Ben White on the 2nd of November, in restraining the legislators from impeaching him. Then you now had Danagogo, who now also came up with his these are all ex parte orders. These are not judgments. Danagogo now comes to say, oh, please respect the judgment of my order. Heäd here is the speaker. You cannot interfere with Heäd here. The House of Assembly is going to be renovated, and so the members cannot sit there. Then you now have the one on Friday, which is Okonkwo, which says that, oh, you cannot declare the seats of the 27 members vacant. Okoro, sorry. Now, this goes to also what Papa Clark, the open letter he wrote to the Chief Judge of the Federation about the corruption in the judiciary. Why would 4 courts of coordinate jurisdiction, where you have a Chief Justice of Nigeria, give exactly the same orders to any of the parties that did come with their papers? Now, if I put on my thinking cap as a public affairs analyst, haven't been a public officer, the sitting that was held on the 31st of October, I had this argument with the former speaker, who is very close to me. I said the mace, they say, is in the hands of Edison here. Is a mace that important? He said, no, the mace that a sergeant at arms presents, whatever mace a sergeant at arms presents, that shows a symbol of authority. The House was burnt on the 30th of October. On the 31st of October, the 27 members sat. They removed the majority leader and suspended 4 of them. In the eyes of law, is that not what should be, what should suffice? But in the same vein, Edison here said he had already been elected speaker that same day by 3 members of the House. Now, what is a quorum? All these are issues that can only be resolved by a law court that knows its onions. Sorry, I'm using that word with due apologies to the courts at this point. Because when you have courts behaving the way these courts are behaving, there is not one of these interim orders or ex parte orders that has come from the Court of Appeal, which is a higher court. All these courts are sitting like appellate courts over and above the same court with the same powers. So I am sure, I wasn't at that meeting, I'm sure the president has looked at all the conflicting court orders. And I've said, look, the only way we can look at this issue is through a political settlement, which, if you ask me my own opinion, you can't deny the fact that it is skewed against Fübarä. But Fübarä accepting to become the governor of Rivers State already knew the temperament of Wike, already knew the kind of person Wike is. He's overbearing, he has anger issues. You worked with him for 8 years. There's a way you manage somebody. Remember Akpabio and Emmanuel Ludom? He brought him from Zenith Bank. to understudy him as the SSG before he anointed him as the governor of Akwa Ibom. And we all know what happened between, the only thing that was not renamed, I mean, the only thing that saved Akpabio was that stadium that was not renamed, Godswill Akpabio Stadium. Imanaludo will never have anything to do with Akpabio. He stopped him from even going back to the Senate until the president made him the minister of the Niger Delta. But Akpabio managed it in a very different hemisphere, unlike what is happening with Wike. Today, Umaeno, who incidentally Imanaludo produced, has